Alright, hello there YouTube. As you can see, you have a little bit of a different angle for this one. So I originally recorded this video on December 7th, but I don't think it's very nice to be watching lives in vertical format. So what I'm going to do is try doing a live for my platforms on Instagram, but then having a recorded version for those of you on YouTube, because I still can't figure out why I'm not able to go live on mobile, or I would just do it on there. So I'm actually just about to start the live show now, but today's title is basically how I deal with exhaustion and why exhaustion is so different when you have a chronic illness. Now you're going to be seeing me a little bit different of an angle. I know it's not ideal looking up. I'd rather have my camera view down, as if you were seeing it live on how the Instagram view is. But I think for those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, this is going to be a much easier watch because you have the entire screen being taken up. What I'm going to do in post edit is just add in the photos that I share during the live on Instagram. Now, it's going to require a lot less editing, but the reason why I'm using Instagram is because I can show that directly in the live stream. All right, there we are. Had a little bit of trouble getting the stream going, but there we go. So right now, I am trying something a little bit different. So for those of you who watch on YouTube or Facebook, I've been just sharing the vertical video that I share all the time on my Instagram lives. And as I was saying, the reason why I actually like this live feature on Instagram is because I can actually share my photos or slides that I make directly onto the live stream. Now, the angle over here is to YouTube and to Facebook, but it's not going to be an ideal angle because of what I'm having to use, which is my iPad to record. Ideally, I'd have a camera just kind of facing down so that it was a little bit easier, but not so much luck today. So until I have another way of figuring this out, Instagram's going to get the best angle, and then YouTube right here is still going to get the video, but they're going to get it in a little bit of a different angle. I've done my best basically to kind of make it so that it's not as shot up towards my neck, but it's not really working that well. But anyways, let's get into today's topic. So the thing I want to focus on today is exhaustion with chronic illness. So I've really been noticing this lately because basically I have a completely different life now than what I had before. So when I was in the height of my struggles with IIH, it was to the point where I was basically stuck on the couch all the time. Like, I wasn't able to do anything. And now it's completely different because I have a part-time job now that I'm managing, but I'm still dealing with a little bit of things like fatigue and exhaustion, especially when I'm pushed to my limit. And not having my schedule in my control is a huge major factor for that. But anyways, so I wanted to talk about a few things today that just kind of have come to mind. So getting into this, when we talk about exhaustion with IIH or migraines or other types of chronic illness, and particularly fatigue or being tired, it's not the same as what you as a healthy person would experience. Those of you who have chronic illness like I do will likely realize the difference, because you know what you felt like before you had chronic illness and you know what you have to deal with now. But those of you who have never had chronic illness and are trying to relate to that probably aren't doing very well. So yeah, another thing is, you might notice microphones are a little bit different. So the one I have going into YouTube is the microphone right here. The one I have going into the Instagram Live is actually the one I use to do voiceovers and editing, and is basically kind of like a podcasting microphone. So if you notice back on the replay, or those of you who are watching, you can probably notice a difference in the sound quality with that. Now, I am quite a bit farther back than I would like to be, and I'm farther back than when I usually am when I'm actually recording something, but this is the best I could do with the equipment that I had, and I'm surprised I got it to work at all. So yeah, but anyways, now that I've went off on that tangent, so being tired with chronic illness is completely different. Our energy is used a lot differently, and we have less to begin with. So the biggest and most commonly used example, I think, that you'll hear from people with chronic illnesses is the spoon theory. So just a reminder that the spoon theory is a theory originally described by a lady with chronic illness. Her name is Christine Mezzarandino. I'm sorry if I completely butchered that name, but I'm not good at pronouncing names, especially last names. And basically, she used spoons as a hard way of describing the unit of energy that we have to often manage. And different tasks basically would take a different number of spoons. So it could be ranging from anywhere from brushing your hair could be 1 spoon, brushing your teeth could be 1 spoon, and doing something like sweeping the floor could be 2 or 3 spoons. And let's say having a shower, which I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos, but when you take a shower, it seems like you have to use a lot more energy. Now, this is the reason, I think, why it can be difficult for those of us with chronic illness to manage and do and have a routine, because you've got those units of energy, but you've also got a limited number of spoons that you start off with. A bad day is going to mean less spoons, and a good day might mean that you have more spoons, or that they last longer, tasks don't take as much. But essentially, you have a different number of spoons that take up different amount of energy. I've also got like basically the description of the basics in this slide. I've used this slide in videos before. So yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to manage. And not only is this a common one, but not only is that a common one, but I also tend to like to use a low battery analogy, because everybody has phones. I mean, everyone is likely watching this on a mobile device, right? So we all have phones, so we can all generally relate to what happens and the panic that happens when you've got your phone and you're down to 10% battery. You get that red warning symbol saying, warning, low battery, which actually happens at 20%. But let's say you get down to 10%. Well, in that case, you have to put your phone down or charge it. Well, in the case of us, charging it means going to bed. Now, if you're already at a low amount of energy, you're not going to be able to go to bed. So you're working on that very low amount of energy, basically. So the reason I tend to like to use low battery. So, as I was saying, you see this on your screen, and if it's a panic, because your phone can be everything these days, and it's only become more a part of our life as we've kind of gone on into the 21st century. So, you know, this symbol, I think, is something that everyone can relate to. And the reason why I like to use the iPhone battery in particular is because iPhones are known for, when you get to the end of an iPhone's battery life, how quickly it drains, and how charging it up to 100% does absolutely nothing. It'll just be draining just as fast if it's not plugged in. I mean, on my iPad, for example, I can't really show it right now, but it's really old, so the battery isn't lasting as long anymore when it's not plugged in, and I don't have it plugged in right now because I'm using the microphone as that particular slot. So you kind of get the idea there. I could actually use the headphone jack on this one, but you know, there's that as well. So that's kind of that one. And so not only does our energy work differently, but exhaustion is also different because different activities are of different value, and they take up so many units of energy, as I was saying in the segment with the spoon theory, where you may use half a spoon, or where someone who's healthy may use half a spoon or a spoon. Sometimes the amount of energy that will take someone with a chronic illness is 2 or 3 times that. It's very individual. It's going to depend, of course. Okay. Just wondering if I can zoom in a little bit more. Zoom in. Okay. Should have done this before. So as I was saying, we start off with fewer spoons than the average person. So not only do activities take more spoons or more units of energy, or they drain the battery faster, but you've got a lower starting amount to begin with. And not only that, but fatigue is a really big beast to manage. So remember that being fatigued and being tired are 2 totally different things. Remember that when you're tired, you can generally recover from that. When you're fatigued, it's harder to recover from that. So an example that I like to use is being tired in the morning is really common, especially if you've worked a lot or you've been doing a lot over the past couple of days, or you've got a lot going on. That's being tired. Or being tired at the end of a long day is quite common. Like, normally probably people will be tired after they've done a fairly physical shift at work, or they've had a really busy day at work. Being fatigued, on the other hand, is a completely different story. So with being fatigued, you not only are tired, but you're so tired, and rest does absolutely nothing to help it. So when you're tired, you can basically have the starting point where you wake up and you feel like you've had you don't remember having a bad night's sleep, but you wake up and you're still tired. That can be fatigue. And no matter what you do throughout the day, whether you're resting or whatever, you're still tired. That's fatigue. Now, when it comes to fatigue, I hear people say to me almost all the time, "Oh, well, I get tired too." And fatigue and being tired is not the same thing. I've talked about this in a video before. So not only when we hear this from someone do we feel not validated, but this can be very difficult to hear. It makes it feel like what we're feeling is not valid, and that, you know, it makes it sound like we're in the same situation as what you are, when the reality is we've got this whole internal battle basically happening. I don't like using the word battle with chronic illness, but when it comes to the fatigue, it can feel like a sword fight, basically. It can feel like you're Vader versus Obi-Wan Kenobi or Luke Skywalker, and you're like battling like this just to fight through it with the lightsabers. So, you know, all of that, sorry for the nerd reference, it's hard to describe some of these things, because unless you actually have felt these things yourself, it's really difficult to actually understand everything that's going on. So, because it makes us look like we're in the exact same situation when the reality is that we're not. Remember that many of us with chronic illnesses look normal, but we're not. We are very, very good at hiding how we actually are doing and feeling. This isn't a mistake. This is basically done to blend in, and so that we can continue living the lives that we're living and doing the things that we need to do to survive. So some of us don't have a choice as to whether we have a job or what we do in our day. You gotta live. You gotta be able to make a living, and sometimes it means sacrificing and not being able to have the lifestyle that would probably be best for you. Ideally, like for me, it's somewhere in the middle of where I am now and where I was before. Because where I was before when I started this part-time job was having too much time, basically. And it's hard to say that it's too much time, but it kind of is too much time, because if I'm starting to feel bored, it generally means something has to change. However, I've gone to the opposite extreme now, where it's almost too much. And it would be really nice to find a happy medium, but I'm not going to get into that here. The one thing I really want to stress, because I think this would help people get off of the medication, in particular if you're struggling with the whole, well, losing weight won't help me, and I've tried that and nothing has helped. I think this might be an incentive. So my fatigue before going off of the acetazolamide was something I was used to, but it's a huge thing that I notice now that I'm not on the medication, and it's a motivation for staying off of the medication fully. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So my fatigue has changed completely. And the reason, I think, was because the medication was resulting in chronic fatigue. And I don't know if it has to do with what it is in the medication. It's like, if I was to look at it deeper, if I was to look at it deeper, I probably would be able to pinpoint this. Probably has something to do with the chemistry of it. But when I was on the acetazolamide, my fatigue was terrible. And you get used to this after a few months, but you still really don't get used to it. So the fatigue level that I have now is still there. There's still a little bit of fatigue that I deal with, but it's nothing, absolutely nothing compared to when I was on the medication. And I love the way I feel now. Like, I can do some of the things that I used to before I had IIH because I have more energy to do it. I'm not dealing with as bad a fatigue unless it's a bad day itself with my head. The only time I notice that my fatigue is bad is on a bad day. So I will look and feel, I don't know if I look like it, but I know I feel like a zombie on the days where my head is hurting. But because of my migraine preventative medication and Aimovig, this is happening so little now that basically it's like a handful of days a month. And even then I can function. I just am maybe not able to go at full speed compared to when I'm not hurting. Now, this is awesome, but because it's not visible and because I'm able to work around it because of what I was doing with for so long, it makes it look like I'm normal and just another person or another body there that doesn't have any underlying medical conditions. And that can be a bad thing in a way. The struggles with invisible illnesses are really quite real. And not looking or not being the thing that we're feeling is something that I think happens a lot. This can happen with a lot of different chronic illnesses, but basically when you don't look sick, people will assume that you're normal and just like them, when in reality, when you have an invisible illness, that's the farthest thing from the truth. So just getting into that little piece right there, I think is really important. And not only this, but something that's kind of a little bit off of the exhaustion that's different is that on a good day, there's basically a very unfortunate feedback loop that can happen. So I want to share that now. And it's this. So the good day happens, it leads to overdoing it, and this leads to basically a symptom rebound because you've overdone it, you're exhausted, and stress can be a trigger for migraines. So because of that, you've got symptoms now because you overdid it, and this means you're unable to do anything. And that rest period can lead to another good day, or sometimes it just happens by chance, and then you repeat this cycle. This cycle becomes absolutely vicious, and it can happen too when you overdo it by accident, but this particular cycle applies to when you're having a good day. You notice and feel like you're having a good day. It feels like you don't have any underlying conditions at all. You're not even feeling fatigued at all that day. So you overdo it, and then you lead to symptoms the next day. Now, the symptoms that I tend to get on my worst of days are body pains and muscle aches, headaches, and just kind of that tired, achy muscle feeling like you get after you've done a hard workout. So those are kind of the things that I really wanted to stress in this video. And not only that, but exhaustion is not good. It can lead to worse days. It can lead to a very long period of a flare-up. And I think when it comes to chronic illness, the biggest thing you learn, and it's because of limitations that your body puts on you because you're not able to do what you did before, you really feel those limitations, and you get reminded that, oh yeah, I'm not 100%. This can be really actually hard mentally and emotionally because you're reminded that although you may feel okay, you're not really 100% anymore. So I tend to tell people who don't realize what I've been going through that, they're like, oh, you're still dealing with that. Yeah, I'm just, number one, really good at hiding it. And number two, because I don't look the way I feel a lot of the time, it's not really that obvious. But it can lead to some pretty severe consequences. And, it teaches you that not everything is okay when you run yourself to exhaustion. I think that's kind of something that's difficult now for me because I kind of know where my limits are. And when I feel like I'm being pushed past them by not my choice, because if it was my choice, I wouldn't be pushing past all this. But when you're not given the choice and you're forced to go beyond your limits, you get really, really frustrated because of it, because you're not basically living at the prime of what you know you could. And sometimes I wonder if that's actually a limitation now of knowing my limits. Not being able to abide by my limits is a really big mental and emotional struggle. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people really understand. But anyways, I think that's it for now. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to follow, like, subscribe, notification bell, all of that stuff, because this is going across all the platforms. Likely not see you guys for a little bit now. So I have a very busy schedule coming up. It's the busiest time of year for many different reasons, and so I don't know when the next time I'll be able to get on here for a live show is even going to be. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you learned something from it. Okay, so this video has now ended. I'm done with the live stream for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Like I said, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss when I post another video. And I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Bye, YouTube and Facebook.